Hey.
Hi.
Welcome to the Painted Bread Quarterly Slush Pile. We're so glad that you could join us today and listen to our frivolity. Maybe in the notes we'll say, start 45 seconds in unless you don't want to hear about Jason's ass. Something like that.
Who
wouldn't want to hear about that?
But who wouldn't want to hear it?
Schneiderman.
All right. Well, the reason why we talk about Jason's ass is because it's so lovely and mentionable. It's a mentionable rather than an unmentionable. But also because we love each other so much, and we're so glad that we continue to work together when we're apart. And we're really far apart, and we're the Painted Bread Quarterly, and that's one of the reasons why it takes us a while to get back to you, because we take care with every poem that gets sent to us, and that's what this editorial meeting that we're about to have will illustrate. But before we get to that, we'll say who the we is. The we will start with me, and I'm Kathleen, and I'm Kathleen Volkmiller, and I'm an essayist and a professor here at Drexel University, and the studio has only Joe Zhang, our wonderful sound engineer. And woo, pop all that champagne corks, make all the sound effects now. And Ali Ziabash, who is our fabulous co-op. Hi, Ali.
Hello, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent today.
Yeah, you managed to get here and not be blown away.
That's right. It's quite windy out there.
Yeah, we're like getting extra. It's like swimming against the tide out there in the air. So our closest person is Jason of the Lovely Butt. Hi, Jason.
Hi. I come to you from my office in lovely Tribeca.
Hi.
Hi.
That's all he's going to say. He's got nothing else because we've taken so much time on his weight lifting abilities. So out there in the desert, hello.
Bench pressing 200 pounds is Marion Wren, director of the writing program at NYU Abu Dhabi.
Oh, you're getting a good elbow workout from what I saw. You're lifting like 6 ounces at a time.
Exactly. So it's wine o'clock here in Abu Dhabi. We're
doing deadlifts or wine glasses.
We're doing, curls. We're doing curls with the cab salve. And sitting next to me, also bench pressing.
Hi, I'm Samantha Neugebauer. I'm an instructor here at NYU Abu Dhabi, and I am on the editorial board of Painted Bread Quarterly.
Yay! And by the way, we have liquor licenses, so all of this is legal in Abu Dhabi.
I forgot about
that.
It's like faux red wine, so you just feel like you're in America. So listeners, if you don't normally go to our podcast pages, you should this time for sure, because we'll link to all of these photos. We just took a photo of Marion and Sam together in the desert, lifting and hauling those wine glasses up. And also, speaking of, I'm gonna go balls to the wall here because this is how I go. So, Marion, you know how you and I thought about this podcast together on a New Year's Eve 3-4 years ago, right?
Yep.
Well, it must be something about the holidays that gives that gives us epiphanies, because I had this idea. So on other podcasts, people name their fans, right? So like on Dumb People Town, they call them Townies. And on Dak Shepard's Armchair Expert, they call them Cherries, right? So I think it's time. What, Jason?
I see where you're going with that.
You do. Well, I hope you're with me, because I think it's time to ask our fan base what they would be like to be called, right? And I nominate from the get. You guys, weigh in, but I'm thinking slushies. Wait for it. Peeps. Oh,
I think I like slushies. I like slushies.
Well, this might change everything, because this is what I was thinking about doing, and this is why I'm saying it on the episode right now, is we were thinking about putting a Facebook poll up and doing some social media work and only doing it for like 1 week, one hot week of letting the votes rain in and see if our listeners would like to be called slushies or peeps. Now, let me just defend peeps for 1 second. The reason why I thought about peeps is historically, it's for a long time, easily more than a decade, we call our teams peeps. We go PBQ peeps, right? Are you a PBQ peep? Oh, you're going to be a permanent peep, right? We always use peeps. And plus, Jason, who must be the man of the hour, loves him some peeps.
I love peeps.
Easter time snack.
I often gift him peeps. I ship him peeps if I find peeps in unusual colors and flavors.
That's true.
Right? Yeah. He likes gourmet peeps, handmade peeps, and just even the regular old peeps. So can we put those two choices out there, or do you guys have a better idea?
No, but I will say I totally understand why peeps is an idea, but it's also because it's for our internal peeps. And by the way, my cat says hi. She's talkative tonight. Because it's internal, I want to keep it internal, and then the audience and then our constant listeners would have a different name. Unless we are blurring the lines between our listeners and our peeps, in which case peeps, right, Em?
I haven't really used the phrase peeps since like 2005. Like I think
it's a little dusty, right? It's a little dusty.
Like a
Marion does.
It's a dusty phrase though, right? So like it feels so perfect for PBQ insiders.
Okay.
So maybe let's put it out for a vote.
What if we made it Peebs?
That sounds too close to pubes.
Well, I don't understand either of those senses, but I just like the idea of getting our listeners involved. I'll bet they'll vote for slushies.
I would vote for slushie.
And I have this image in my head of like a slushie, like a true 7-Eleven slushie.
Yeah.
And next to it, a peep. And then people could pick,
I feel like this somehow ends up with me wearing a slushy costume at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
No, honey, it's a peep costume. It's not a slushy costume. It's somebody's a slushy. That's funny.
I think Jason could pretend that he's real bummed that Peeps doesn't get picked. Right? And he could be a sad peep.
I could be a sad peep. Oh, I love to be. The only thing better than a peep is a sad peep.
My mother-in-law likes them stale. She likes stale peeps. She'll actually buy them, poke holes in that cellophane, leave them on the top of a refrigerator, and then eat them when they're stale. Just so you know.
No, you know what? I don't mind a stale marshmallow. I would never purposefully stale them. But I get it. It's like that chewy circus peanut marshmallow. That's what happens if you let it get a little stale. Yeah. So people eat that. That's not crazy or anything. It's not like eating a flea killer.
But strategically aging one. It's a step. It's a step.
So, okay, let's do this. I just had an idea because I'm ruining the fact that I put this on the episode. I thought about talking to you about it off episode. And then I thought, wouldn't it be funnier and awesomer to do it on the episode and then make sure we release this episode during the poll, right? So that's what I was thinking about. But now that you guys seem to be adamantly digging slushies more, we could actually model our democracy and our peepness at the same time by my willingness to give up that whole survey thing and just go with slushie. So should we vote? Let's vote.
I think we should let the fans decide what they want to be called.
Okay. That's where I started this game with. So should we vote? How many of us want the fans to decide? Okay. 1, 2, 3, vote.
Are we voting?
Yeah, we're voting.
Oh,
okay.
Vote the way you normally vote, Mayor, so that Joe gets to be part of the dramatic tension of the moment.
Got it.
Wait, that's
okay.
Marion.
We're letting the fans vote.
What happened? Am I doing it wrong?
No, we got your vote, I think. Well, we got enough votes that we don't need your vote. So
yes, you have to vote.
Yeah. Well, so Samantha and I also agree that the fans should decide, but I really like the idea of at some point doing a peep show.
Yes.
Right?
What?
So what, we host a reading? We've done that.
Yeah.
We host a reading and we're the readers. Love it.
Yeah, that's the peep show, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a thing. Let's roll that out, right? Like editors reading, call it a peep show with pasties.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, there is the idea that we're giving them a peep inside, like our editorial process here.
Oh, no, that's interesting. Just like we're taking all these photos now, right?
Yeah,
we are already doing a peep show. This is magical how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? I wanted to get all of that goofiness out of the way so that we wouldn't discuss these next poems and then lapse into goofiness. So let's maybe shake all that off.
Okay. Shaking.
Ollie and I are physically shaking. Too bad the video's not on anymore. But
Shake it off.
Ali, I didn't know you could twerk like that.
I can indeed.
He's gotten jealous over the prior Jason butt conversation, and he's twerking. Okay, all right, sit down. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm actually crying a little bit over here.
The twerk was that beautiful.
The twerking was that
It brought tears to her eye.
He shows me another skill set every week. Okay.
Oh my God.
All right, Marion, take over. Start. No, all right, go ahead. Yeah, you do it.
All right. First of all, it's wine o'clock here in Abu Dhabi, but y'all sound drunk and it's not even noon.
Coffee. I'm on the coffee.
I'm on the coffee. All right. So we have two poems by David Rock, and I actually can't wait to read and discuss these.
Yay!
So do we trust our robot voices tonight, Samantha? Do you want to read? Okay. So my cat
does.
really,
Cat says yes, go for it. And so do I.
Yes. Cat says yes.
Yeah. You sound strong and solid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just gravy. Well, that's it. Everything else is gravy. Jericho Brown. And God said, let there be gravy. It was just gravy. As good as gravy. Gravy was the whole telos of wisdom, made flesh. God's creatures with or without their wings. And God said grace. And so we survive, some of us, for a while. And not by any merit of our bagpipes, banjos, and bones. God said,
I don't know what the fuck is
here. We're dying. Holy shit. Put a muzzle on that cat. Oh, God.
You can't be doing that.
It was just too much. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I know. I was half listening to the cat.
Yeah, you were doing a great job.
Do you think cats don't actually talk to each other? They only talk to people?
Oh my goodness. I just want the poet David Rock to get the respect that he deserves, right? And it was
exactly. So
the
I
first one was funny, but then
Maybe
it was
one of you.
Yeah, you know what, you guys, I can't guarantee this cat's going to be quiet, so I'm going to put us on mute and you're going to have to read. I'm really sorry.
If you put her in a room, she'll keep yelling.
She will howl if I put her in a room. Yeah, I could put her in the hallway, and my neighbors would freak out too. So I'm really sorry. Okay. All right, go. We're on mute. You guys go.
Jason, you want this one or the next?
Sure. No, I can take it.
All right, great.
Just gravy. Well, that's it. Everything else is gravy. Jericho Brown. And God said, let there be gravy. And it was just gravy. As good as gravy. Gravy was the whole telos of wisdom made flesh. God's creatures with or without their wings. And God said grace. And so we survived, some of us, for a while, but not by any merit of our bagpipes, banjos, and bones. And God said, okay, I'll grant you the bones. So you see, everything else isn't gravy. Packaged gravy, gravy from a can, delicious gravy in the hard, cold light of Aleppo, which had come as nothing new, swaddled in sackcloth and a blast wall to bolster the beef, our analogical anguish. like lumps.
Beautiful reading.
Thank you.
Yay. Wowza.
It's such a weird turn towards Aleppo. Like I didn't see that coming at all. Like even when I'm familiar with the poem, you're still like, whoa.
Yeah.
Aleppo.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it is such a surprise when it turns there. But Jason, the cadence of your reading of it was so great because it feels like such a rhetorical poem. Like it's so image driven, but it's also like in the sort of ironic speech of it, right? Like the sort of wink of it. And then it turns to Aleppo. And then that juxtaposition hurts the brain a little bit, but in a good way, right? I'm like, ouch, what? And then you get analogical anguish where I'm baffled and delighted. Mm-hmm. And then the last line is like lumps. And again, bafflement and delight simultaneously in a can of gravy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I get the analogical anguish.
I don't know that I do either.
Is
but
like gravy
no,
is an analogy for good things in life. Like gravy is like the analogy for what's good, and then the lumps or the lumps in the gravy are the analogy to anguish. It was a great phrase.
Right. I think the lumps and the anguish are analogous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or analogical anguish like lumps. You know, I'm going to sound so woo-woo silly. Like, please, if I oversimplify this, tell me to edit it out and don't worry. Should we focus on the gravy and not the lumps?
That's what the analogy is. Honestly, that's the analogy, Kath, right? The analogical anguish, right, is built into that phrase. It's like gravy. Everything else is gravy. So it's that metaphor that sort of flattens and recomposes everything, right? It's just, it's the gift. It's gravy. Even when you're in shit, right? Like when you're in catastrophe.
Gravy was
you're still caught in that analogy, that impulse for analogy, which is anguish. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that's what you meant.
No, that is what I meant.
Okay.
Gravy was the whole telos of wisdom made flesh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Doesn't that support that read?
I think so, right? Like that there's something about like saying something is just gravy equals metaphor. So what are the two things being juxtaposed in that analogy, right? Excess, surplus, right? So that, everything else is gravy, the excess, the surplus, even when it's shit, right? And I keep saying Aleppo is shit, but that's not what I mean. I mean the catastrophe of war and the destruction of the city. And that's why the turn is so hard, right? In the cold light of Aleppo.
And I was thinking that there was a connection between gravy and grace. I mean, the words themselves feel nice together, but also it's like the two things God says here about there's gravy and there's grace, and sort of like there could be grace in the hard, cold light of Aleppo as well. I think there's some kind of connection there.
And how about you're doing such a good job explicating for me, everyone. How about, and God said grace, and so we survive. And God said, ellipses, and God said, okay, I'll grant you the bones.
Well, I'm struck by Jason's reading of it too, right? The way God sounds sort of mildly snarky and a little petulant, right? That right, okay, I'll grant you the bones, right? Meaning that we survive, we thrive, but only some of us really, right? And not by merit of the ways in which we sing, right? Bagpipes, banjos, and bones, right? Bones, the first time I read it there, it's lyrically pleasant, but nonsensical. Like, music upon the bones, right? Like music with the bones, or you're using a skeleton to make music, right? And then God said, okay, I'll grant you the bones, is kind of wry and funny. And that's when the turn towards some kind of impossible catastrophe.
And our first instruments were made out of bones. So I think that.
Is that right? Is that true? My ethnomusicologist weightlifting friend.
Yeah.
Right. So you see everything else is in gravy. And again, it's that like rhetorical gesture, right? Like this interpretation of that analogy, that implicit analogy. I will say, like, I guess my critique would be that the precision of the analogy or the precision of the critique of the analogy is fuzzy, right? Like, I'm not sure what the idea is that where it's meant to land, but I don't know that fuzziness is a detriment, right? Like, it's sort of weirdly interesting enough that it feels like the poets figured something out, and I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable in its rereads.
Yeah.
Despite
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if I'm getting closer to knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know if we're talking enough about just the language. It's lovely if I don't know what the hell I'm reading. Bolster the beef, analogical anguish, that line, that list, bagpipes, banjos, and bones.
Right.
My God, just the words with no meaning. If I didn't speak English, I'd love the sound of this poem.
Mm-hmm.
That's what struck me last night when I read the piece. So when it was emailed to me, is it has like this musical rhythm to it almost, and the alliteration is great.
Swaddled in sackcloth.
Mm.
Yeah. Jason, you're being quiet for Jason. You okay?
Sorry,
over there,
I was. No, I love the way that it's really beautifully calibrated. That it starts with kind of this idea of everything being positive and extra and good, and that kind of fantasy of living, without difficulty, without pain, without suffering, without conflict. But then, as it kind of moves more and more towards like what's difficult about life and, God's benevolence and lack thereof, it sort of moves towards absolute catastrophe, right? That there's like, that also, one may be distressed that it's not entirely without, life is not entirely without pain, but then it moves into, but some people's pain is so much worse than others. I think that movement from a kind of almost goofy, benevolent God, the kind of God that, Jack Gilbert is always talking to, who's just kind of a buddy and, chats back, but then also kind of slips into the God who lets, the Holocaust happen or Syria happen.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't use Syria as a metonym for the conflict in Syria. I'm sorry, Syrians.
And here we are again, listeners, pondering. This is our thinking, our thinking silences, our thinking.
And I'll also say, I think that it is one of the things that I really love and that I try to do in my own work that I think happens here is the cleverness and the humor is calibrated against the seriousness. It doesn't have to give up any register of thinking or pleasure in order to contemplate the catastrophic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an excellent way to say it.
Do we want to vote? Do we want to keep talking?
I think I'm ready to vote. I know I'm ready to vote.
Yeah. We're ready to.
All right. Okay, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, vote.
Let's wait. I can't make my technology work. Hold on.
Okay.
We're holding.
Okay.
All right. So guess what? It's a unanimous yes. Woo! Thank you, David Rock. Sorry for the
catastrophe.
The
Wait, I feel like I just have to say a word in defense of my catastrophic cat here. She's an Egyptian Mao, which is basically a fancy phrase for Abu Dhabi street cat, and they talk. They're natural talkers. She's not in distress. And I think there's something about like when she can hear us talking, she wants to talk too. Yeah. Right. So she's like hanging out and just like yammering on. Right. And she doesn't realize that she's being recorded.
That was the strangest thing when I was with you to hear how much that cat talked. I had never.
She just talked.
Such a chatty cat. And even you're right about the talking, but like when you guys would be gone and I would be in there alone, she's just walking around that house talking.
Yeah. That's part of it too. She is in love with Jonathan, my husband. And when they're together, she's like talks to him or cuddles with him. But the fact that he's not home right now, I kicked him out so we could podcast. She's like lost her shit. She's just like talking to the wall.
Next time, Jonathan's got to take her for a walk. I think Jonathan could remain quiet, Marion. You don't need to kick him out. You kicked Jonathan out instead of the cat.
I did. Well, he wanted to go grocery shopping. I was like, all right, honey, get outside. So he went grocery shopping and the cat lost her shit. So anyway, welcome to the PBQ podcast, peeps.
Well, thank you, David Rock, for that poem. And thank you for your patience during the catastrophe. But now we have Driving Through Idaho. Ali, I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't want to just...
I can read if you'd like.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Excellent.
Driving Through Idaho. A good lottery knows a thing or two about your chances. Reservations. A skiff of snow just this side of bliss. Approaching Fairfield on the afternoon sunward side of Massacre Rocks. What better bluffs? That sultry snake. Top 40 love songs, blah blah, and politics aside. Nothing beats giant windmills. DQ? I could sure go for a chicken strip basket, a place to pull off to pee. Ah, the emptiness.
Great reading. Oh my God. A good lottery knows a thing or two about your chances. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bolt of lightning right there. Beautiful. And then reservations. One word, capping the line. Fuck. David Rock. That's a poem, man.
David Rock rocks.
David Rock.
It's the pun
Dang.
episode. I was so surprised. I think the first time I read this, that last moment, comma, new line, new stanza, the emptiness. I think I laughed aloud in joy the first time I saw that.
Yep.
Because it's
Yes. I have to say, I'm so with you on the ellipses too. Like every time I see ellipses in a poem, I usually roll my eyes and think, oh God, right? Like, is this like a center justified poem? Like, what is this person doing with ellipses? But this actually captures the feel of a long drive, right? So I'm sorry to interrupt, but what were you going to say about that the emptiness?
I was going to say that the rest of the poem is so full. I've got so many images. I'm seeing Massacre Rocks, thinking about top 40 love songs, DQ, chicken strip baskets. You know what I mean? Like it's full. And then, but it's this drive through freaking Idaho, right? So then that pause, I pull off to pee, right? A place to pull off to pee, ellipses, the emptiness. And I do have a little bit of a double entendre there too.
That is a beautiful double entendre, which I didn't get, but now I see.
I don't have to explain it, right? I don't have to explain it. Yeah, I love that. And it's kind of tongue in the cheek too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted more. I felt like all the emptiness was sort of like just a way out. Like it didn't really feel like a landing to me. It felt like a placeholder. Okay. I wanted the poem to keep going. Like I felt like it was sort of an easy way to stop.
Which is not unlike a drive through Idaho. Just saying.
But the thing about driving is you can't stop. You can't stop till you get where you're going.
Right?
Unless you got to stop to pee or go to the DQ.
You can stop to sleep in a parking lot. You can stop to go to a hotel. But I mean, you can't stop. I mean, you can't stop.
but well, that's the emptiness, right? The emptiness. I mean, when you see that DQ, you're probably stopping if you're not hungry because you're like, when's going to be the next one?
But doesn't the poem argue that it's not empty?
Well, what we're hearing about is nature, not things. We're not hearing about motels and malls. We're hearing about Massacre Rocks and Snake.
No, but we're also hearing about like
Bluffs.
Windmills and Dairy Queen and a need for chicken strip baskets, like, you know, and a place to pull off to pee. Like,
but I also think there could be like, this person to me feels like they're doing this alone. And I think especially in the US, we like romanticize that and that like seems like, you know, an epic journey, but it does look like this person is doing this alone in the way that they say blah, blah, blah about love songs, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe the emptiness of just being on this ride alone.
Right.
or any ride or life.
Yeah, Mare, I'm still definitely getting a lot of emptiness in this nature. The bluffs, even those windmills don't make me think of fullness. They, windmills are empty on a plane, right? Like they're by themselves. They're not people. People aren't working them.
So this is completely subjective, right? But I didn't travel at all in most of my 20s, except for college trips, right? And then when I finished college and started grad school, my friend John Weinstein invited me on a cross-country trip. We drove with his dog across the country so he could start at Stanford, right? And that is a long, flat drive through Kansas. And then when you get to Idaho, I swear to God, it looks like a different fucking planet, right? Like terrain and the topography is like, was nothing I'd ever seen before. So there's something like this poem captures and resonates with me, not just like the Route 66 long drive, but that feeling of like the vastness of the country, the way the topography and the land, the earth actually changes under your tires. And then that feeling of like, top radio songs. Like at one point we actually turned the radio off just so we could be in the quiet of that drive to see what the earth looked like. And then it's windmills and Dairy Queen and, we're hungry. Let's get a chicken strip basket. By the way, I got to pee. Kind of nails it.
Yeah. And just lovely descriptions. A skiff of snow just this side of bliss. The afternoon sunward side of Massacre Rocks. Right? I'm seeing the majesty as well as the emptiness and the people parts. I like what you said, Sam, about knowing how I felt the driver alone too, but I didn't know how. I'm glad how you articulated that, even though this person's talking to him or herself, right? Really.
It never gets back to the lottery.
No.
I don't think it needs to. I mean, the lottery is so, that opening line is just killer.
Reservations. Fucking brilliant.
Guys, we did it again. We like talk. Okay.
Yep.
I think we're ready.
But it's the ponder. It's the ponder. It's like, honestly, it's like, crests and valleys and peaks and troughs, like these conversations like rise to a crest. And then suddenly it's like re-seeing the poem again through the lens of you all, right? I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. You fuckers are smart.
Well, I'm still going to throw the move. I move to vote. Seconds? Anyone second? It's seconded. Shall we? 1, 2, 3, vote. Okay. And David Rock is 2 for 2. It's in. Woo-hoo. Driving through Idaho. Thank you so much, David Rock. I can tell you now that we've discussed him, that he sent us a nice note about how much he likes the podcast.
Aww.
Wasn't that nice?
That is really nice.
Yeah. I mean, it was just in submittable along with his submission. It was like a second letter about something else. Actually, he had submitted 3 pieces and one got snagged before we got to it. But he was talking about the podcast. So anyway, I just thought that was nice. So does anybody have anything else? I mean, I think we've covered everything. Jason's butt, Ali's twerking abilities. Coffee versus Cabernet. Cats.
So coffee versus Cabernet, cats.
Yeah, my reluctant cat ownership.
Slushies and peeps.
Slushies and peeps.
You're right.
Peeps.
So listeners, please vote. We're going to have a poll up. Well, by the time you hear this, the poll will be up. But we're only running it for a very short time. So as soon as you hear this, get on in there and vote. And then also we'll have a side poll if Jason should dress up like a sad peep.
I need so little push to dress up like a sad peep.
I swear to God, AWP is on the horizon.
I do need, like, it's like Tinkerbell, like unless you clap.
Honestly, I think with the AWP conference on the horizon, like we really should think about like costumes. Slushies, peeps.
No, I'm buying a T-shirt from our Cafe Press site. Which, if it's not up by the time you hear this,
yeah,
we got big problems.
We got big
KVN.
problems.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. We have a picture of a slushy on the front with a question mark on the back. A picture of a peep on the front with a question mark on the back.
Well, actually, it'll be decided before that. We're going to decide.
True.
Right. So people will probably, I don't know. I've got some, we can start thinking.
I like the fashion drama. I like the fashion drama.
Start thinking of slogans for the slushy. And I'm not going to tell you guys what the T-shirt is that I have created. You're going to have to all come to our booth when we know the booth number. We'll put that on social media too. You're going to have to come and see. I'm going to wear it every day. Do you dare me to wear the same T-shirt every day?
I do. I dare you.
He knows I will never do it.
Like every day for a year, every day for a decade,
every day of AWP. What if I wear the same T-shirt?
AWP. Oh, sure. That's fun.
Easy.
Not for me. Well, I guess I could wear like different skirts and boots.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I mean, it all has to fit in a suitcase. I guess you could just send yourself outfit changes, ship them to yourself along with the painted bride quarterlies.
True.
Hey, have you met us? That's precisely what we do. That's exactly what we do.
Just like stuff in like another pair of boots or a glamorous halter top.
A fetching hat.
We should start making slogan pants. What aren't we? Maybe we're tired of the T-shirt and we need to start making pants where like one leg says one thing and one leg says the other thing and then the ass says something entirely different.
I think I'm not sure I want to wear the word slush pile on my butt.
Slushy.
Sports bras, activewear.
Yeah.
Listen, we are bookending this episode because now we're back to pants, and Jason does need custom made pants already.
Custom pants.
So yeah, right.
Okay.
Sip it. I'm thinking of slushy puns. Think
Sip
of slushy puns.
It.
Think of slush puns.
All right. So anyway, our readers talk to us, and everybody read on. And thank you very much, David Rock, and everyone else. Woohoo!
Thank you, David Rock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to run.
Bye. She's going to go run. Samantha's actually going